Good to go?
I'll sit right
There you go. Good. All right. Good evening, everybody. Give your attention, please. My name is Lawrence Metzger, and I'm a peer minister at the Newman Center. It's good to have you all here this evening. I know that some of you guys were expecting Father Gabriel for the talk tonight on the great disease, but unfortunately, we are not able to have him here with us today. Instead, I have the honor of asking Father Kyle Metzger up to the stage, the vocation director of the Fargo Diocese, to give a talk about taking Jesus Christ seriously. So if you guys would welcome him to the stage.
Okay. Okay, how is this? Can you hear me? What is this for? Oh, this is to record me. Oh, I better not say anything too controversial, right? This is like live. Well, if you came here to hear Father Gabriel, which I did, welcome to disappointment. Welcome to my life. Okay, I'm just kidding. No, but I am the second fiddle. We'll get Father Gabriel back here at some point. So they asked me to come up with a provocative title to draw in the masses. We're at capacity. Yes. Taking Jesus seriously. Okay, to begin with, I want to ask you a couple of questions. I'm not going to ask anybody to share their answers, but I do want you to think of an answer specifically in your head. I want you to think of somebody in your life who you consider to be holy. Somebody that you know, like not like, a famous figure like Pope Francis. You know of Pope Francis, but you don't really know Pope Francis. So somebody in your life, maybe somebody who's passed away, it could be, or somebody living, but think of somebody you've been with who you would consider to be holy. And I really want you to come up with a name. I'm not going to call on anybody, but come up with a specific person you consider to be holy. Got that name? Okay, now I want to ask you a couple questions about that person. And this I will ask if you'd be willing to just raise your hand. That's the extent of what you'll have to share. Raise your hand. You're all college students, so let's say roughly you're 20 years old. Raise your hand if the person that you were thinking of is between the ages of, let's say, 18 to 24. Raise your hand if the person you were thinking of is between 18 to 24. Okay, this is a very good sign. Maybe a sign of the health of the Newman Center. Because I've asked many, many groups that question. Usually we might have one person, might have. Raise your hand if the person you were thinking of is older than 50. Yeah, usually that's the big category. Raise your hand if the person you were thinking of is one of your grandparents. Yeah, okay. So this is a unique crowd, which is a good thing. You're Flannery O'Connor, the great writer of the 1960s in Georgia, said, the gospel will set you free, but it will make you odd. You guys are odd. Good for you. So oftentimes, we know very few people who we would consider holy. Usually it's everybody, it's somebody old. It's grandma or grandpa is holy. And we don't know people, our friends in our peer group, who's holy. which is a major problem for advancing in the spiritual life. Don't we usually advance in any area, athletics, arts, academics, by kind of looking at how people do it well around us? We revere certain athletes and we want to model their exercise regimen, or we revere musicians and we model how they mastered their craft. We've noticed the study habits of people getting A's. So if we don't have people around us who we believe to be holy, then we think either it's not attainable or it's something we'll do when we get older. It's not possible now. And I want to take that stereotype and smash it to pieces, because it's not true. And it's dangerous for your soul if you don't think you can be holy now, if holiness is not necessary now. So taking Jesus Christ seriously. I want to tell you a personal story about my own life where this reality kind of hit me like a brick wall, you might say. And this is something that happened to me in seventh grade. I grew up right here in Fargo. My mother was a school teacher, and she taught at St. Anthony Middle School. They don't have a school there anymore, but back when I was a kid in the 90s, they did. And so I would have to go to school. When I was in middle school, I went to school every morning with my mom. I rode to her with school. We would have to get there really early because my mom was a school teacher. She had to get her classroom set up. So we'd get to school maybe a half hour, an hour early every day. She'd make photocopies, she'd sort papers, do all the things that teachers do before the students get there. So in the morning, I would have a lot of time to myself. Sometimes I'd finish homework, I'd do other things, read a book. Sometimes I would just wander around the school. Now, if you've ever been to St. Anthony's, you know it's an old building. It's built in 1906. It's over 100 years old. They've done a lot of remodeling over the past couple of decades, so it's much more modern than it was back when I was a kid. There was this tunnel that stretched between the school and the church under the alleyway. There were all these little closets and corners tucked around, asbestos everywhere. I'll pay for that later. But it was just kind of a really charming, classic old building. It was Hogwarts for all we knew. And so in the morning, I would just kind of like to wander around and explore the school, open up doors, find these little niches. I wasn't trying to be mischievous or get in trouble, but I was going into places that I probably was not permitted to go. Totally innocent. One morning, I had a lot of time. We got there early, and I thought, I've never been over to the choir loft over in the church. And I thought there'd kind of be some cool things over there, some cabinets, and see the organ. Let me go and scope out the choir loft. So this is really early in the morning. I went under this tunnel through the alley, and at that time, it's a little different now. You kind of entered the church in almost like a side door. I opened the side door. It was a swinging door. I opened the side door, and immediately when I opened it, I noticed on the other side of the church a number of people just standing in line waiting for confession like this, maybe 3 or 4 people. And instantly when I saw them, I remember, I think there's a morning mass, and Monsignor Vetter, I think he hears confessions before then or something. It all kind of happened in a flash, but I'm not going to wander around the church when there are people in there. I was expecting it to be empty. So I stepped back out of the door and just let the door kind of automatically swing shut. But before the door came shut, my eyes quickly noticed one of the people standing in line for confession. And I recognized him. It was Neil, who was one of my 7th grade classmates. Neil was standing in line waiting for confession. He didn't see me. He's just, kind of staring down. But I saw him, and then the door shut. And I stood in front of that that closed door for probably 2 or 3 minutes, which is a long time. And I was confounded. Why was Neil going to confession? And my confoundment was not about what sins he'd committed. That's not what, it's why would somebody go in 7th grade? You know how many times I went to confession each year when I was in 7th grade? Twice. Every year. And you know why I went twice every year? Because I was a Catholic school student. And that's when the teachers took us. Once in Advent, and then once in Lent. We were basically forced to go. I wasn't opposed to confession. But why would you go unless somebody made you? And so standing before that door, this is all happening in a flash in my mind. Like, why is he choosing to go? And remember, you guys, this is like early in the morning, probably 7 in the morning. Did he ride his bike to school? His parents weren't in line with him. Did they drop him off? Like, why would you get up early, waste precious sleep to go to confession? Like, this was madness. It didn't make sense to me. I would wander around the school that next day and the next couple of days, and like my mind would continually go back to that, and I would see Neil, pass him in the halls and see him, and like now he kind of looked different in a sense. And I had like this secret knowledge about him, and he didn't even know I had it. He didn't know that I saw him. And he looked different to me. And what was different, again, these thoughts would kind of unpack themselves over a few weeks. I couldn't get this out of my mind. And I started coming to the recognition, like, the reason why it confounded me is that Neil in 7th grade had a relationship with Jesus Christ. In 7th grade, I probably would not have articulated it that way, but in retrospect, that's what it was. Neil was taking his faith seriously in a way that I wasn't. I was a good, well-behaved Catholic schoolboy. I got good grades. I had no problem going to Mass on Sunday mornings, going to confession. But none of that was anything I would really ever choose to do on my own, like I saw Neil do. And there were other thoughts that were kind of impacting this. Like Neil was a normal kid. Neil was on the soccer team. He's pretty decent. So every now and then, probably in your school, you know, we had these kids that were kind of like the pious religious kids, you know, and they were kind of awkward, you know, held the hand, and they never said any bad words. And if you did, they like were shocked at this. And like, I didn't want to be one of those kids. And Neil wasn't. And so that contradiction, that he was normal and kind of cool, but had a relationship with Jesus Christ, like that's like blowing my mind in 7th grade. And eventually, over some time, what started to kind of well up within me was a type of envy, a jealousy. Again, I probably would not have expressed it this way at 13 years old, but I wanted that too. I didn't want to be like the goofy religious kid, but I did want to have the courage to take my faith more seriously. I wanted to have the courage to like sneak off to confession. And I had people in my grade apparently that did. And I caught one doing it. And I wonder like, who else is doing that? Maybe others of my classmates are secretly reading their Bibles in their bedrooms, or maybe carrying around rosaries in their pockets, and maybe I'm the loser who's like too embarrassed to like do something about my faith. Over weeks, this would unpack itself. And then I decided I had to do something about it. I couldn't just be like this forever, just have this envy forever. So I resolved to do three things. Something every week, something every month, and something every year. First off, something every week. I decided to pray one rosary every week. All my teachers were always saying, pray the rosary every day, pray the rosary, pray the rosary. Well, I couldn't pray it every day. I was barely praying it as I was. I knew how to pray it, but not every day. I knew if I tried to do that, I'd do fine for a week and then I'd crash. But I could pray one every week, maybe this week on Monday, next week it ends up being on Friday, but I could get one rosary. That's not asking too much. Great. Started doing that. Second thing, every month. I decided every month I was going to go to an extra mass that was not required of me. So Sunday masses didn't count because you have to go every Sunday. When I went as a Catholic school student, we went every Wednesday with the school. That doesn't count because I had to go. I had to go out of myself to do something, and I had to be able to inconvenience myself to get to Mass. And keep in mind, 7th grade, you don't have a driver's license, so I had to strategize a little bit. But I had to start taking the action to do that myself. And the third thing, every year, I decided by the end of that semester or school year, I don't remember what month this happened, I was going to go to confession on my own, like Neil did. I had to have the honesty to go and confess to the Lord and be honest with the priest, not just give the same old kind of rote things that everybody says, but to be really transparent about what I was doing. I started doing those three things in 7th grade. I've never stopped since. And of course, they increase now Mass every day, obviously as a priest. But I trace much of what I would become to that moment in 7th grade of catching a friend, going to confession, and over time recognizing I had to do something about it, or I was just going to kind of wanting to do that thing for the rest of my life. Thanks be to God, like there was Neil in my life that could kind of shock that open. Notice, students, I have not said anything at this point about the priesthood. Nothing. Eventually, that question would kind of raise itself in like my sophomore, junior year of high school. But this is not like a talk on like the priesthood or religious life or anything like that. It's just on taking your faith seriously. But I would not have been able to engage in the question of the priesthood or marriage or any of that. I would not have been able to do that unless for years up until those decisions I had been praying. So I know you're older than 7th grade, but you can take that choice to take your faith more seriously now, sophomore, junior, senior in high school, whatever it is now, or you can fall into the pattern of most people, tragically, of I'll do it later. And you'll be waiting to do it later until you're in the nursing home. And then you'll say, well, I'm too old to change. So taking Jesus seriously, taking the faith seriously, you have to do it now. Like decide tonight at bisonCatholic night, I'm going to do it tonight. Because if it's next week, next semester, let's wait till Lent, you're going to be kicking that can down the road your whole life. Okay. Let me finish with one last addendum to the story, and then we'll finish up. Neil, what happened to Neil? Anybody wondering where Neil is today? Is it Father Neil? Is he a priest? No, he's not. Today, true story, Neil is an architect in Wyoming. He has long hair and he rides a Harley. And he's married and he's got 4 kids. True story. Neil's not a priest. In 7th grade, he was taking his faith more seriously than I was, got an earlier start than I did. He's not a priest. You don't pray and then I don't want to start that because then Jesus is going to tell me I should be a priest. Or I don't want to do that because then he's going to tell me to go to the convent. That's not how it works. You know who, in a certain sense, has most benefited from Neil's holiness? His wife. She married a very good man. So guys, your wife is depending upon you taking your faith seriously. And ladies, don't bind yourself to a goofball. There are good men out there who are taking their faith seriously or will start to tonight. Find one of them. But the vocation of marriage is also built upon holiness. Neil has a very happy, beautiful marriage, and his kids have a wonderful father. And that's because he's taking his faith seriously for quite some time. So if you're already on that road, thanks be to God. Maybe you had a Neil in your own life. If maybe you've got some work to do, start tonight. It's not too late. You don't want to, in 20 years, say, man, I wish I had done something in college. Start tonight to take your faith seriously and then do something about it. I came up with 3 things to do. They weren't huge things, but you come up with a few things that you can start doing tonight. Not next week, not in Lent, not next year, not when you graduate, but start doing them tonight. God bless.
Thank you so much, Father. That was really inspiring. So now we're going to transition into some adoration for the rest of the night. So those questions that Father, posed to us of, what can we do to begin to take our faith seriously? He shared those 3 little things he did in 7th grade, like what can we do at our time? I hope all you guys had a wonderful time seeking out those questions with Jesus. To finish out the night, we have some announcements. With the new guidance that the governor and let's see here. With the rising COVID numbers and the guidance that the governor and everything else that's happening, buckle up for the rest of the semester will be canceled. I guess we'll still have to figure out for next semester. Hopefully we're able to for next semester and the numbers will go down and we'll be able to continue that. Mass will be required at all Holy Spirit events. That includes Mass, Thursday night events, any meetings, etc. There will be a 50-person max capacity for all the social events that are in the social hall, not any of the events that are in the chapel, because there's a ample amount of ways to be spaced out. So for any talks in the chapel, there's no limit. Michael, do you want to come up and talk about men's poker night?
Thanks, Lawrence. So my name is Michael Mayer. I'm the Grand Knight of the Knights of Columbus. And Thursday night, tomorrow night, all men, sorry late. So just want to invite all men out. It's at 6 o'clock at Holy Spirit Catholic Church and goes to 6 to 8:30. So yeah, that's what we're doing. So come for friendship and come for cash too, because here's what's going on. So we got $50 Visa card, cash prize. So that's the stakes there. So whoever, we'll do a raffle. You come in, you get $200, fake money, not real money. $200 at the door, and we'll have $100 per raffle ticket. So you can gamble up, buy more raffle tickets, get your name in the raffle for that $50 Visa card. And then second, third, and fourth place, we'll have $15 Domino's gift cards too. So if you don't come for the friendship and for the buddies and a good time, at least come for the cash. Thanks.
Troy, do you want to come up and talk about our upcoming social events? I'll go change the slides.
Our Thursday night events. Thursday night events, we have still Adoration and Mass at Holy Spirit. And I'm not sure what the social event is this week. Tommy, do you know? Ice cream social this week. So come for some ice cream. Come for the Lord. And then this Sunday, Dr. David Devil, he's a professor from St. Thomas. He is giving a talk at Holy Spirit at 7 p.m. He's a great professor. It's going to be a great talk. I had a couple classes with him at St. Thomas, and his classes were one of the few classes I had that were actually worth the high St. Thomas tuition. So it's going to be a fantastic talk. He's super intelligent. He's very funny, and he just speaks the truth. So if you're free on Sunday night, this would be a great use of your time.
All right, thank you, Troy. So yeah, I think we all need to take advantage of our social events while we have them, especially the Dr. Devo talk, since that's a unlimited capacity in the chapel there, not just 50 people. So I think that's everything that we have. We're going to do a memorare for our closing. So if you guys would like to join me in that. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, thy intercession, was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, we fly unto thee, O virgins, our mother. To thee do we come, before thee we stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word, despise not our petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer us. Amen. Immaculate Heart of Mary, Saint Joseph, Saint Paul, St. John Henry Newman. All right, thank you guys for coming. That wraps up our bisonCatholic night. Yeah, hopefully see you all soon.